And welcome back to the final episode in creating a low poly sword for the Blender game engine. And today we're going to be texturing this bad boy. So last time we got this nice thing here. And today I'm going to create a new image, 2048 by 2048, and call this sword ambient occlusion, or AO for short. And click OK. And down here I'm going to go to ambient occlusion in the bake section. And now I can just bake this. If you're getting funny lines or anything like that, my bet is that you have both layers selected, and you can see it's going to make it really weird if you have both. So make sure that this is on its own separate layer, it's not touching anything else, then you can go ahead and bake that. You can also make sure it's normalized if you want, that makes it a little bit lighter. I don't actually doing, never mind. That's not what I meant. I thought that did something else, but I guess I'm thinking of something else. I'm going to rebake this. I don't want the background to be clear. I think I've just corrected it. Yes, I have. Okay, so I'm going to go image, save a copy, and I'm going to save that as sword AO. We're going to go ahead and go into Photoshop. I do all my texturing stuff in Photoshop, just because it's useful to me. And I'm going to go ahead and where is it? Over here. Grab this AO and drag it in. And before doing anything else, I'm going to create a background to layer, and this is going to just be a black layer. And what we can go ahead and do is that didn't really create any detail, did it? No, it didn't. Well, I'm going to go ahead and grab a UV map, and I'm going to drag this in. So export UV layout. And I usually delete my UV layouts. I don't keep them in my source file because they just take up space. We can grab that, move it up a layer, and now we can go ahead and bring in a metal image. I got this off of cgtextures.com. I'm going to go ahead and sorry, just moving that little recording thing out of the way. Go ahead and, because this is seamless, I can just copy it and keep making this bigger, and just kind of making it the entire size of the image. And because most of the items sorry, in this image are actually made of metal, like the blade and the blunt pieces, we can just go ahead and make an entire layer. If we go to this layer here and select the background, we can delete everything that's not actually part of that image. And before doing, did I move that at all? I think I did. That's what we want. I don't even know anymore. That looks right. Before doing anything else, I'm going to go ahead and grab the UV for the sword here. I'm going to go ahead and, with my polygon lasso tool, press Alt and remove some of these selections here. Whoops, we actually want to inverse the selection. And now we can press Alt and remove some of these guys here. And the reason we're doing this is because in a second here we're going to separate the layer. So now that we have just this, we're going to inverse our selection again. And if we go down to this layer here, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that. With this first layer, I'm going to go Image, or sorry, Select, Modify, Expand, so we can expand it inwards. I'm going to go 20. And actually modify, contract, I'm going to go like 7, just so it's a little nicer. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this polygonal lasso tool and press Shift and re-add some of these pixels here, because we actually want those ones. Like that. Although it doesn't actually look like... oh, sorry, we actually want to not add, we want to like remove that selection. So we can double tap that, and there we go, that'll be good. So now what we can do is go Image, Adjustments, and go Brightness and Contrast, and turn up that brightness just a little bit. And that is going to create a nice edge right there. And now we can grab this guy here. Sorry, on this layer here, we want to grab that, that, and that, and then delete it on that layer. And on this bottom layer here, I'm going to go Image, Adjustments, Brightness and Contrast, and lower that brightness quite a bit, and up the contrast quite a bit. And that's nice. That's looking pretty good. Now, I'm going to go ahead and actually remove the metal for this handle here. If you remember, this is the UV for the handle. And we're going to go ahead and bring in a wood image, which I've taken off CG Textures. It's a little bit darker, and it looked a little bit darker online, and I liked it when it was a little bit darker. So I am going to just go Adjustments, Brightness and Contrast, and lower that just a little bit, maybe up that contrast a little bit, make it look very nice. And now we can go ahead and scale this the appropriate size. That's looking pretty good. And we can, of course, grab this area and delete the unnecessary extra textures. And now what we can do is we're going to go ahead and start adding some shading. It didn't, for some reason, add proper shading. So I am going to reshade some of these things here, but we can just go multiply, multiply, and multiply. And I'm just going to turn that to overlay and then lower the opacity a bit. Actually, I'm just going to keep it at, maybe, I don't want it too dark. So I'm just going to go darker color, and that seems actually pretty good to what I want. You can adjust yours for more realistic and different looks, and then you can, of course, add engravings in here if you want, or anything you want. That's looking pretty good to me. One thing I'm going to do is grab my burn tool here, and because I feel like there would be some burning up in this area, that's not seeming to work. Let's just go you know what, let's just go overlay. Is that the... Oh, that's why it's the burn tool. Never mind. Okay, so let's actually try this on a darker color. Yeah, that's going to work. Never mind, I was wondering why it wasn't working. So we're going to go ahead and grab this. I'm going to grab it on not a perfect brush. We want to grab something with a little bit of variation. And turn up that exposure a little bit. And yeah, that's going to be better. And trying to find like a nice... And we just want to make that a little bit darker where it would actually meet the area here. So that's looking pretty good, so we can file. Or actually, I'm also going to add some in this area here. Just maybe jump that down just a little bit and just add some very, very light coloring in there just to kind of pick it up a little bit, make it look a little better. And then put some down here too, because this is where it's going to be meeting. Doesn't actually seem that's working though. Here we go. Getting a little bit more noticeable. Just going to jump this up actually quite a bit. And that's why I'm on the wrong layer. So it's not actually getting any more noticeable. So we can jump that down quite a bit then. And that's looking pretty good. And you just want to get that to roughly kind of where the handle would be. I know that the top and the bottom sink in a little bit. not that much. And the more random it looks, the better, because you don't want it too straight on. But now we can go File, Save for Web, Save as Sword E for Diffuse, and now we can go ahead and add a new texture for this sword. This will be called Sword Diffuse. Go Image or Movie, Open, and generate it to UV. And just like that, that's looking pretty good. We can add a color to it to make that a little bit better. And you can see where it's kind of darkened up down there. But really, it's more important right there. So that's looking pretty good. Now to do the reflection for this. So I'm going to go back in and create a new layer here. And this layer is going to have a white paintbrush. We want to make this just flat white. And I'm going to go first off with a grunge brush. You can download some of these online. And I'm going to make that a pretty nice size and about half the opacity. And just start taking this down the edge of the blade here. And the reason I'm doing this is because there would be nicks and dents inside the side of this sword where, you know, it's not very sharp anymore. And then, of course, at the top, it would be more reflective because it's kept sharper. You know, it would be sharpened more often, in my opinion. Or if I had a sword, that's where I'd sharpen it the most often, at least. Okay, now we can grab a solid brush and we can make that a full opacity. And just grab some of these areas here and make them shaded. Okay. And now we can go ahead and obviously grab this guy here. We're just going to delete some of the stuff that sticks out. And that's looking pretty darn good. And this is basically our reflect map, our reflection. So this is what everything's going to reflect off of. However, we need to turn off all the other layers to make this work. So we're going to go File, Save for Web. And we can save that as Sword RF for reflect map. And then we can make a new texture and call it Sword RF. It's going to be Image or Movie. It needs to, where is it? Generate to UV. Open. RF right here. Use alpha needs to be enabled. Color off. Stencil on. And now add another texture. This is going to be called Reflection. And the image I'm using is called Scope, and it's just a very basic reflection of a doorway. Basically, it's just a spherical image. You can Google spherical image, and you'll get a lot of results like that. And you can find ones that are appropriate for the game you're creating. And you can make sure this is not on color. Yes, is on color, but at 0.5%. We want to make sure it's on reflection rather than normal or generated or anything like that. And we're going to make it to add. And you can bump down that color if you think it's too strong. But basically, just like that, we've created what kind of looks like a shiny sword now. So, you know, the blade has a bit of reflection. The shiny parts are a little more reflective. You can bump that down to get the original color. But that's looking pretty good. And the nice thing about this is in the game engine, you're going to get these refractions and reflections. And it's a very nice way to fake reflection in the game engine. So if we go ahead and apply this mirror modifier now we can remove doubles, just to make sure. You can see we've got a pretty darn good looking sword here. And this sword is only 200 vertices and, let's see, 348 tries, which considering the, you know, where this is going to be used, and that's in characters' hands and things like that, that's not a lot of tries. And you could even lower this. You could lower this way more easily. I'm just removing a couple of edge loops here, and it basically looks the same. And all I've done is removed a couple of edge loops. But you see what I mean? Like it's super easy to decimate this. If you wanted, you could even add a decimate modifier for a LOD system, but that's looking pretty good. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please feel free to give it a like. If you found it useful, please tell your friends about it or share it online. Thank you for watching this episode. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.